they did not follow us at once, as anyone else would have done, seems to me to show that they do have some sense of shame left.
They have been eating muffins. That looked like repentance.
They don't seem to notice us at all. Couldn't you cough?
But I haven't got a cough.
They're looking at us. What effrontery.
They're approaching. It's very forward of them.
Let us preserve a dignified silence.
Certainly. It's the only thing to do now.
Dignified silence seems to produce an unpleasant effect.
A most distasteful one.
But we shall not be the first to speak.
Certainly not.
Mr. Worthing, this just I would like to ask you. Much depends on your reply.
Gwendolen, your common sense is invaluable. Mr. Moncrieff, kindly answer me the following question. Why did you pretend to be my guardian's brother?
In order that I might have the opportunity of meeting you.
That certainly seems a satisfactory explanation, does it not?
Yes, dear, if you can believe him.
I don't. But it does not affect the wonderful beauty of his answer.
True. In matters of grave importance, style, not sincerity, is the vital thing. Mr. Worthing, what explanation can you offer me for pretending to have a brother? Isn't it all that you might have the opportunity of coming up to town to see me as often as possible?
Can you doubt it, Miss Fairfax?
I have the gravest doubts upon this subject, but I intend to crush them. This is no time for German skepticism. I must say, their explanation seems to be quite satisfactory, especially Mr. Worthing's. It seems to me to have the stamp of truth upon it.
Oh, I am more than content with what Mr. Moncrieff had to say. His voice alone inspires one with absolute credulity.
They think we should forgive them?
Yes. I mean, no.
Sure, I have forgotten. There are principles at stake that one cannot surrender. Which of us should tell them? The task is not a pleasant one.
Could we not both speak at the same time?
An excellent idea. I nearly always speak at the same time as other people. Will you take the time for me?
Certainly.
Your Christian names are still an insuperable barrier. That is all.
Our Christian names, is that all? But we're going to be christened this afternoon.
For my sake, you're prepared to do this terrible thing?
I am.
To please me, you're ready to face this fearful ordeal?
I am.
How absurd it is to talk of the equality of the sexes. Where questions of self-sacrifice are concerned, men are infinitely beyond us.
We are.
They have moments of physical courage of which we women know absolutely nothing.
Oh, darling!
Darling!
Lady Bracknell.
Good heavens.
Gwendolen, what does this mean?
Merely that I'm engaged to Mr. Worthing, Mamma.
Come here. Sit down. Sit down immediately. Apprised, sir, of my daughter's sudden flight by her trusty maid, whose confidence I purchased by means of a small coin, I followed her at once by a luggage train. Her unhappy father is, I'm glad to say, under the impression that she's attending a more than usually lengthy lecture at the university. I do not propose to undeceive him. Indeed, I've never undeceived him on any question. I would consider it wrong. But of course, you will clearly understand that all communication between yourself and my daughter must cease immediately from this moment. On this point, as indeed on all points, I am firm.
I'm engaged to be married to Gwendolen, Lady Bracknell.
You are nothing of the kind, sir. And now, as regards Algernon. Algernon?
Yes, Aunt Augusta.
May I ask if it is in this house that your invalid friend Mr. Bunbury resides?
No, Bunbury doesn't live here. Bunbury is somewhere else at present. In fact, Bunbury's dead.
Dead? When did he die? His death must have been extremely sudden.
Oh, I killed Bunbury this afternoon. Poor Bunbury died this afternoon.
What did he die of?
Bunbury was quite exploded.
Exploded? Was he the victim of revolutionary outrage? I had no idea that Mr. Bunbury was interested in social legislation. If so, he's well punished for his morbidity.
My dear Aunt Augusta, what I mean is that he was found out. The doctors found out Mr. Bunbury could not live, so Bunbury died.
He seems to have had great confidence in the opinion of his physicians. I am glad, however, that he made up his mind at the last to some definite course of action, acted under proper medical advice. And now that we've finally got rid of this Mr. Bunbury, may I ask, Mr. Worthing, who is that young person whose hand my nephew Algernon is now holding in what seems to me a peculiarly unnecessary manner?
That lady is Miss Cecily Cardew, my ward. I'm engaged to be married to Cecily, Aunt Augusta.
I beg your pardon?
Mr. Moncrieff and I are engaged to be married, Lady Bracknell.
I do not know whether there's anything peculiarly exciting in the air of this particular part of Hertfordshire. The number of engagements that go on seem to me peculiarly above the proper average. I think some preliminary inquiry on my part would not be out of place. Mr. Worthing, is Miss Cardew at all connected with any of the larger railway stations in London? I merely desire information. Until yesterday, I had no idea that there were any families or persons whose origin was a terminus.
Miss Cecily Cardew is the granddaughter of the late Mr. Thomas Cardew of 149 Belgrave Square, Gervais Park, Dorking, Surrey, and the Sporran Fifeshire, North Britain.
That sounds not unsatisfactory. 3 addresses always inspire confidence, even in tradesmen. So far, I'm satisfied.
Oh, how extremely kind of you, Lady Bracknell. I have also in my possession, you'll be glad to hear, certificates of Miss Cardew's birth, baptism, whooping cough, vaccination, registration, confirmation, and the measles, both the German and the English variety.
A lively crowd with incident, I see, although perhaps somewhat too exciting for that of a young girl. I'm not myself in favour of premature experiences. Gwendolen, the time approaches for our departure. We have not a moment to lose. Mr. Worthing, as a matter of form, I had better ask you if Miss Cardew has any little fortune?
Oh, about £130,000 in the funds, that is all. Goodbye, Lady Bracknell, so pleased to have seen you.
A moment, Mr. Worthing. £130,000? And in the funds? Miss Cardew seems a most attractive young lady now that I look at her. We live, I regret to say, in the age of surfaces. Come over here, dear. Pretty child. Your dress is sadly simple. Your hair seems almost as nature might have left it. But we can soon alter all that. Kindly turn round. No, that side view is what I want. Yes, quite as I expected. There are distinct social possibilities in your profile. The chin a little higher, dear. Style largely depends on the way the chin is worn. They're worn very high just at present. Algernon,
Yes, Aunt Augusta.
there are distinct social possibilities in Miss Cardew's profile.
Cecily is the dearest, sweetest, prettiest girl in the world, and I don't give twopence about social possibilities.
Never speak disrespectfully of society, Algernon. Only people who can't get into it do that. Dear child, of course you know that Algernon has nothing but his debts to rely upon. But I do not approve of mercenary marriages. Indeed, when I married Lord Bracknell, I had no fortune of any kind, but I never dreamed for a moment of allowing that to stand in my way. Well, I suppose I must give my consent.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Thank you, Lady Bracknell.
Cecily, you may kiss me.
Thank you, Lady Bracknell.
You may also address me as Aunt Augusta for the future.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
The marriage, I think, had better take place quite soon.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Thank you.
To speak quite frankly, I'm not in favour of long engagements. They give people the opportunity of finding out each other's character before marriage, which I think is never advisable.
I beg your pardon for interrupting you, Lady Bracknell, but this engagement is quite out of the question. I am Miss Cardew's guardian, and she cannot marry without my consent until she comes of age. That consent I absolutely decline to give.
Upon what grounds, may I ask? Algernon is an extremely, I may almost say, an ostentatiously eligible young man. He has nothing, but he looks everything. What more can one desire?
It pains me very much to have to speak frankly to you, Lady Bracknell, but I do not approve at all of his moral character. I suspect him of being untruthful.
Untruthful? My nephew Algernon? Impossible. He's an Oxonian.
I fear there can be no possible doubt about the matter. This afternoon, during my temporary absence in London on an important question of romance, he obtained admission to my house under the false pretense of being my brother. Under an assumed name, he drank, I've just been informed by my butler, an entire pint bottle of my Perrier-Jouet Brew 89. Wine I was specially reserving for myself. Continuing his disgraceful deception, he succeeded in the course of the afternoon alienating the affections of my only ward. He subsequently stayed tea and devoured every single muffin. And what makes his conduct all the more heartless is that he was perfectly well aware from the first that I have no brother. I never had a brother, and that I don't intend to have a brother, not even of any kind. I distinctly told him so myself yesterday afternoon.
Mr. Worthing, after careful consideration, I've decided entirely to overlook my nephew's conduct to you.
How very generous of you, Lady Bracknell. My own decision, however, is unalterable. I decline to give my consent.
Come over here, dear. How old are you, sweet child?
Well, I'm really only 18, but I always admit to 20 when I go to evening parties.
You are quite right in making some slight alteration. Indeed, no woman should ever be quite accurate about her age. It looks so calculating. 18, but admitting to 20 at evening parties. Well, it will not be long before you are of age and free from restraints of tutelage. So I don't think your guardian's consent is, after all, a matter of any importance.
Pray excuse me for interrupting you again, Lady Bracknell, but according to her grandfather's will, Miss Cardew does not come legally of age until she is 35.
That does not seem to me to be a grave objection. 35 is a very attractive age. London society is full of women of the very highest position who have, of their own free choice, remained 35 for years. Lady Dumbleton is an instance in point. To my own knowledge, she's been 35 ever since she arrived at the age of 40, which was many years ago now. I see no reason why our dear Cecily should not be even more attractive still at the age you mentioned than that she is at present. There will be a large accumulation of property.